This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. Listen, let's mention that Dylan has said that he never really wanted to do anything other than be a professional wrestler. His dream started in the backyard, and it grew until he was formally trained by local Wisconsin wrestlers Shane Hills and Jason Hedrick. He's another product of that gym that's going to turn out Ken Anderson, who's also going to help Dylan along the way. Ken was signed to WWE shortly after Dylan started training, so he got to see firsthand what success looked like in the wrestling business. And in his book, he talks a little bit about wrestling in some micro wrestling league matches. These used to be a thing. Of course, little person wrestling was even a staple way back in the territory days. And WWE even used to do mini matches in a little bit in the 80s. I think a lot of us remember seeing that match at WrestleMania 3. That was the first time I was introduced to it. And of course I wasn't even watching wrestling at 3, but I caught it on VHS and was like, oh my God, this is awesome. But even, you know, in the late 90s, we saw characters like Max Mini have quite a bit of screen time with WWE. It's interesting though, how, you know, times change, Conrad, but once upon a time, Little People was sort of a staple in the territory days. How has that changed over time? And what do you remember about the evolution or when you broke in, what quote unquote midget matches were to the wrestling business?
They were special attraction, and you go back and you look at some of the advertisements of yesteryear, of yesterday, in the 50s, 60s, even as late into the 70s, the advertisement would always be, you know, tonight, Bruno versus Watts in the main event, and Tarzan Tyler versus whoever. And then at the bottom, a lot of times there would be, especially in summer months, plus the girls and midgets, or plus midgets. So they were an attraction. They were kind of an afterthought, but during the summer when kids were out of school, kids liked to see the Little People perform. Mm-hmm. And that was a big draw, man. Especially in Houston, that would be a headline a lot of times. Midgets next week. And a lot of times you didn't even have to advertise who was going to be there. And for me, it was a lot of times Wee Willie Wilson, Lord Littlebrook, Little Bobo, Little Tokyo, Cowboy Lang, people like that. That was the group that was booked by Lord Littlebrook, kind of out of the Missouri area where Littlebrook lived, and had a Little People house where most of them were trained and lived. So it was very, very interesting times. But when you look back now, I don't know that the PC world of today would be able to handle the way that the Little People were advertised and used back in the old days.
But it was a regular part of wrestling because, and this is worth mentioning, I guess, but most everyone who's trying to sell, you know, some sort of live event or entertainment experience type of situation, they're looking for a way to sell more tickets, obviously. But what's better than selling 1 or 2 tickets? Well, selling 4 or 5. So you try to appeal to the whole family. So back in the day, if you had women's matches, then maybe you could convince your wife, oh, well, they got some ladies, and this would be something that would be fun for the kids, perhaps more of a spectacle. And once upon a time, wrestling was not something that often catered to kids. I mean, if you were a little boy who was into the sort of rough and tumble act, that's cool. But you know, in the more Jack Briscoe Harley Race era, there weren't a ton of comedy, fun stuff for the kids. But this would allow, because most of that, I mean, even though some of the matches could be very competitive with Little People, they were still usually based in comedy, right?
Absolutely. It was a let up for the audience.
Yeah.
It was there to make everybody laugh and get a lighthearted moment. You do your referee spots. I remember when I started refereeing and I was 16 years old, there was a wrestler named Tom Thumb that came through the territory, and it was still the Dallas territory at the time. And we had a show, and the first one was in Port Arthur, Texas. And I was so excited because I would get to do the midget spots, which would be the referee would count 1, 2, kick out, and the referee would catch one of the guys and throw him back on it. 1, 2, kick out. Referee catches him, throws him back on it. 1, 2, kick out. And he yells to the referee, "Don't catch me." So you just let the guy fall, and then do the schoolboy trick where one of the guys gets behind you and the other one pushes you over. And Tom just wanted to have a straight match because he didn't know me. And he wasn't sure that I could take the bumps. He says, "No, man, I'm getting sued by a guy in Arizona or something who broke his wrist on the schoolboy spot." And everybody vouched for me and said, no, the kid's all right. He could take a bump. You can work with him. Because I said, well, shit, basically you don't know that many referees when you're coming into a territory and working a different territory every week. So it was, I got to do it. He did it. And I had fun. They were a blast working with the little fellows.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.